Hello, my fellow Ripplers. This is Chris Miles, your cash flow expert and anti-financial advisor. One of our shows for you, those of you that work so hard for your money, and you're now ready for your money to start working harder for you right now. You want that freedom of cash flow today, not 30 or 40 billion years from now, but you want it right now. You want that life that you can live right now with those that you love, doing what you love. But most importantly, it's not just about getting rich, is it? It's about living a rich life, because as you are blessed financially, you have a greater capacity to bless the lives of others. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you allowing me to create that ripple effect for you guys. Appreciate you guys binging. You've been going through all 700 plus episodes, and I'm amazed because I can barely get through a couple of my own episodes. So good job, guys. Appreciate you tuning in here today. As a reminder, go check out our website, moneyripples.com. More information. And if you ever want to read the transcription and the show notes of these podcasts, you can go right there, even find the links for our guests as well as for the things we're talking about today.
Chris Miles was able to retire twice by the time he was 39 years old. But he's not content to just enjoy his own financial freedom and peace of mind. Chris wants you to have your own ripple effect so you can live free today. He's not the financial advisor you expected. He's the anti-financial advisor you deserve. He's jumping behind the mic right now, ready to make waves. Here's Chris Miles.
All right, guys. So I brought on a special guest, someone I heard speak on stage, and I would loved his story so much. I know many of you guys heard my story going from millionaire to upside down millionaire. Well, Marques Ogden man, he's got me beat. I got to tell you, he went from like 8 figures to like $8 an hour. And it's so amazing to hear his story of really the riches to rags and back to riches again. So really bring on Marques here, a former NFL football player. We'll let him tell you your story. Marques, welcome to our show.
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me on, Chris. Really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, tell us a little about you. I mean, I know some are football fans here. They might already know who you are from the Jaguars and whatnot, but just tell us more of your backstory.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. My name is Marques Ogden. I'm from Washington, D.C. I live now in Raleigh, North Carolina with my 2 daughters. I am a national, international keynote speaker, executive coach, consultant, best-selling author, brand ambassador, business owner, and I am the host of the Get Authentic with Marques Ogden show. And we're ranked in the top 1% most popular podcast worldwide. And I love being a dad, and I love being a coach and a speaker. And I'm very fulfilled now in my everyday life.
Awesome, man. So tell us a story. I mean, you were obviously in the NFL. I mean, you lived the dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us what is it like when it comes to money in the NFL and that kind of thing? Because we talk about money mindset as well as things with creating passive income. But what was your experience with money going into it?
Well, I was very fortunate, learned from my dad, who was he worked for the Federal Home Loans Bank of New York in their DC office. So I grew up around money management. We were in a very comfortable upper middle class living environment until our parents divorced. And then that really caused us to go into poor and indigent and, having to turn the oven on for heat because my dad, unfortunately, put all his money into, which I mean, fortunately to our education. But by the time I got into middle school and high school, he kind of had burned through his savings. And, it was really hard for me growing up. But I learned a lot about money management from him, how to save, how to plan, how to prioritize, how to, really start to create that wealth for yourself, how to make money work for you, not you work for your money. That's why I love your podcast title, Money Ripples Podcast, because to me, money has a very positive, powerful ripple if you learn how to use it correctly. So in the NFL, I went to Howard University. I was drafted to the National Football League by the Jacksonville Jaguars and Jack Del Rio, who was the defensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders still to this day. And what I saw in the NFL is you get paid a lot of money in a short time. So, of course, you have your training camp, everybody gets pretty much the same pay. Then you have the preseason, everybody gets the same base pay. Then when the season starts, that's when guys you're getting paid. I mean, 17 weeks of the year. Now it's 18, of course. You're getting big paychecks every week, and it's awesome. But here's the thing. If you don't plan, if you don't budget, if you don't really prepare yourself for that whole process, right, you're going to end up having a really hard time with money.
Yeah, it's really about stewardship, isn't it? It's like how wise of a steward can you be?
Of course, because here's the thing, right? So I used to have a budget, right? I remember I did an article with CNN Money and it showed like my rent for my apartment. It showed my car, my food, my gas. I think I was spending probably around $4,000 a month, right? But it's
Wow.
interesting. But it's interesting is that when I was during that time, right, this is 2003, I was making about $40,000 a month. I was getting
Mhm.
about 10 grand per paycheck after taxes. So I was always a cash surplus of about $35,000. Give it. I took $1,000 for, like, entertainment, whatever, right? So I always had
Yeah.
a cash surplus. So I started to program myself in that effect. And right now, full transparency, I'm going through a separation and divorce. And now that I'm on my own and I'm living in an apartment, I'm actually buying a home. And it's interesting. Now I have done things like I have a PR side of my business where I help clients get on the podcasts and media and exposure. And I also help people, really get into the next phase of like working on, business and aspect of things like that. And it's been really awesome, helping people get to that next, level. But
Mhm.
now that I'm by myself, I have my child support I pay every month. I have my bills, have my team, but I'm able now to actually budget. And in my planning phase, what I do is when money comes into my business account, I take it from the business account now, it goes to the personal checking account. Then I
Mhm.
take from the personal checking account 22% out for taxes, goes from the personal checking to the personal savings. So this way I have money that's there building, but I have no access to that personal savings account. No checks, no cards, nothing. Because in
Yeah.
reality, that money doesn't exist. It's for taxes or emergencies only. So my point is now in my life, I'm able to be much more positively having a strong mindset around money management. And it's interesting because now I'm able to budget and preserve and conserve because I tell people all the time, money is so hard to make, right, Chris? But I'll be damned if it's not easy to spend.
Sure is, man. So that's great advice. I mean, I know one thing we always focus on here is that, we don't have to be cheap. You don't have to be living in a cardboard box, but to really
Hmm.
just be lean, right? Be productive, like focus on the productive
Hmm.
expenses, things that actually either one enrich your life and or also help you increase more income too, right?
Hmm.
Focus on those things, but definitely always have that surplus, putting away not just for a rainy day, but even just putting away for opportunities to help keep
Mm.
expanding and growing that income, right? It's that
Oh,
income
absolutely.
snowball.
Well,
Yeah.
especially if you're a business owner listening to this episode, you want to put money away to be able to reinvest back into your business. And like I
Yeah.
said, I'm buying a really nice home, really nice. But again, it's going to be very lean compared to what I bring in monthly. And as our
Yeah.
podcast grows and our PR business grows and things of that nature, it's really important that people understand that we are in a position now if we need to go ahead and buy something or invest in technology or get an app. We had a great talk with a guy today about him coming on to help us on the technology side, create an app around some of our content can call the Success Cycle Kit, where we have like low entry opportunities like courses and whatever, and then maybe create that to be like a 7-figure business residually. Now, of course, when I was trying to do that in the past, I didn't have 5 grand or 7 grand or 10 grand put to the side, for that because I was living paycheck. Oh, I'll say paycheck to paycheck, but it was like tight, right? I mean, because I didn't have
Mhm.
any type of plan on how to budget or money manage or have a good ripple. And as a result of that, I was not able to grow the business. Whereas today, I was talking to the guy. I said, "Man, okay, good. Let me know what it's going to cost of your time because I'm going to give him our podcast. You got to bring your team in. Let me know what that's going to cost. And then, like I said, I don't mind having that in the personal savings. Maybe I'll take a few grand out from that to invest in the business because I know that's for taxes, but
Mhm.
if that can help grow the business, I don't mind spending 3, 4, 5 grand out of there to make moves, right? So I tell people
Right.
all the time, just be very conscious of where you are, where you want to be, and how you're going to get there most effectively.
I love it. Love it so much. Give us a quick little, really just a quick introduction to Get Authentic, that show there. Like, tell us more
Sure.
about that and purpose
Sure.
behind it.
The Get Authentic podcast was started because one of my good friends, you may know his name, former quarterback in the NFL, Gus Farad. Gus is my coaching client, but Gus had a podcast called Huddle Up with Gus. So one of his team reached out to me. I got on Huddle Up with Gus as a guest. Then Gus needed some help in how to really do better when it comes to coaching. He wanted to be a speaker, so he hired me to coach him. And then I had an existing podcast with another guy, and we parted ways just because we just had some creative differences. And then Gus said to me, "Hey, Marcus, you need to start your own podcast." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know, Gus. I don't know what I want to do and all that." So it took him 3 times, well, 4. The third time I said no. The fourth time I said yes, to get me to do it. And so I said, "Okay, Gus, fine." And one of my team members said, "Hey, Marshall, you're such an authentic guy. You're always telling the truth and always about who you are. You're not fake. You're real." I said, let's try Get Authentic with Marques Ogden.
Mhm.
We started June 22nd of last year. It was our first episode published. And I tell you, Chris, we've published 124 episodes so far. We publish now Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. We've interviewed hundreds of people, from people like we've interviewed people like celebrity chef Robert Irvine, to we interview people like Rashad Sugar Evans, UFC Hall of Famer, to business leaders, business owners, executives, corporate, you name it, sports figures, boxing, UFC, football, basketball. It doesn't matter, right?
Mhm.
The number one thing that people have to have: an authentic story, and 2, that we have to be willing to share that story to our listeners. And then they have to also reshare it to their platform and to their network. So again, our show is really about authentic people with authentic stories. And we really enjoy getting people to open up about things they don't really talk a lot about. And like, for example, we had on a guy, Brandon Puffer, was a Major League Baseball pitcher. He ended up having a really bad mistake one night, blacked out, woke up in jail, got a 5-year prison sentence, served 3.5 years,
Wow.
wrote a book called From the Bullpen to the State Pen. And Brandon talked about his mistakes. He said, "Man, I'm a convicted felon now, all this stuff." But he's a former Major League Baseball pitcher, now a convicted felon. He's moved on. He's helping people. He's coaching. He's speaking. He's inspiring. So he shared on our platform his story, what happened, what he learned from it. And he said he got the most peace from being in jail, learning how to get himself back onto what he called his equilibrium. So again, we're all about just authentic people, right, Chris, with authentic stories.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, and those stories stick with people. It really has that stickiness, that those lessons you can learn from it. I know for me personally, the hardest times often gave me the tools to help me hit the highest of highs too. It's those low lows where you get those tools to hit the high highs, right?
Correct.
And
And you have to have an ability to be able to bounce back from
yeah,
hardship, because if you don't, then what happens is you're going to always make the same mistake over and over again. And that's not what life is about.
exactly. I know we only have a few minutes here, but I would love just give our listeners a little taste of some of the hardships you experienced post NFL. I mean, because you were starting off,
Mhm.
you had a great business that you had running, and then all of a sudden you hit a wall, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I ended up starting a construction company, Caden Premier Enterprises, grew it to an 8-figure-year construction business in downtown Baltimore. But like, I did a talking job today. Excuse me, I did a virtual speech today for a client. And I
Mhm.
said, in that construction company, I was chasing success, which is what society thought I should have: money, cars, fame, notoriety. And I achieved it, but I was never fulfilled in my quest as a construction company owner. Actually, I hated it. I hated waking up every morning. I hated going to work because I didn't like it. I really didn't know what I was doing. I was in over my head. And then as I started having success, I lived by what we call the personality traits, which are horrible traits like wrath, lust,
Mm.
envy, anger, jealousy. And over time, in about 90 days, between that, my ego, my attitude, a really bad job, I lost everything. I spent about
Mm.
$3 million of my money in less than 90 days. The developer and the contractor denied my change order. Bam, I'm bankrupt, I'm broke, and I'm out of business. And I moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, and I was fired from 2 jobs in the same week. I ended up taking a job as a custodian for $8.25 an hour on the graveyard shift from 10 p.m. until 5 a.m. And then finally, thank God, literally, God said, okay, Marcus, you're not learning, you're not accountable, you're not responsible. This is your chance. And one of my favorite authors is J.K. Rowling, who wrote Harry Potter. She's the only, Chris, billionaire author in the world, male or female. She
Yeah.
wrote Harry Potter in her car. And she said rock bottom was the moment that she rebuilt her life. That's exactly what happened to me. I hit complete rock bottom when someone's trash, rotten meat, nasty protruding garbage covered my body, my skin, and my clothes. And
Mm.
that was my wake up call. And I went home and I wrote down my three biggest strengths. And I said, I'm a good storyteller. I want to help people. I'm a good communicator. Let's start speaking. Started speaking in September 2013, got no speaking jobs for 2.5 years, paid all free. Finally got our first paid job April 2016 with Miller Mott College. I was able to take that job, leverage it, move forward, keep pressing on. I've been coached, been mentored. I've learned how to really take advantage of opportunities. And so now in the last 6.5 years, we've worked for over 50 Fortune 500 companies as a speaker. We actually had a call today with Wells Fargo about doing some work for them as a speaker. We're really excited about that. And again, I tell people all the time, whatever you do well, focus on that, build your strategy of success off that, and take movement and get action oriented. Just go. Listen to this audience. Imperfect action is better than no action when it comes to achieving what your heart desires. It's better to try, make mistakes, own them, fix them, move on, than be paralyzed by fear.
So true. And a lot of people have that fear of failure. They just don't want to quite make that step. But the problem is, if you don't take action, you also fail too.
Correct. It's worse than that. If you don't
Yeah.
take action, you're just wasting your life. If you
Yeah.
fail, I can live with that. If I fail at something, I can live with that, right? But
Learn
if
from it.
but if I'm paralyzed by fear and I don't move at all, I can't live with myself because then I'm stalling. And one of the worst words they say, people that are elderly or on their deathbed say is regrets. I regret not doing this. I regret not doing that. I don't want to have any regrets in my life. I just don't. So I'm doing the best I can to live the best life that I can.
Amen to that, man. Man, awesome story. I know we could talk for hours about this. Appreciate you having me on, man. Definitely, everybody, check out Get Authentic with Marques Ogden. Check out his podcast. Check out his stuff. It's phenomenal. I know I was kind of hooked right off the get go. Right when I saw it, I was like, "That is the show I got to check out." So, guys, definitely check that out. Marcus, thank you for your time today.
Appreciate it, man. I really thanks for having me on. And again, like I say, great quote by Aristotle. In times of extreme darkness, focus on the light. The light is the truth. So focus on your truth, living your truth, and pursuing your truth. And then everything else will just take care of itself.
Amen to that, man. All right. Well, everybody, make it a wonderful and prosperous week, and we'll talk to you later.